Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Eric May, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Blue Sky Uranium Corp. Before we introduce our speakers, a few points to note. Please submit your questions in the question box to the left of the slides. If you're interested in scheduling a meeting with Blue Sky Uranium, please click on the Meetings tab found in the left navigation bar. You'll be able to view the company's availability and submit a meeting request. On a final note, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I am very pleased to welcome Nico Kakos, President and CEO, and Guillermo Pensado, Vice President, Exploration and Development of Blue Sky Uranium Corp, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol BKUCF, and also on the TSXV under the symbol BSK. Welcome, Nico and Guillermo.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. Welcome, everybody. I'm very pleased to be presenting this morning a very unique uranium company. What we have is we're active. We're an exploration company active in Argentina. Our discovery there is not just a singular deposit in southern Argentina, but is actually a new uranium vanadium district that has some geological characteristics that could make it, has the potential basically to rank amongst the largest uranium districts in the world, like what we see in Kazakhstan, with some of the lowest operating costs. So it's a very, very unique, we have a unique project in this, in Blue Sky within the uranium space. I do bring your attention to this disclaimer in that some of the following slides will be making some forward-looking statements. And by the way, I do encourage you to visit our website where you can get a copy, download a copy of this presentation, and you can peruse it at your leisure as well. Overall, let's just stepping back and looking, what are the investment highlights? Why consider a company like Blue Sky Uranium? Number one, well, there's the uranium market. The uranium market has come a long way from the under $20 a pound. It's over $50 a pound now, and it continues to move forward in a trajectory. And what's really unique about this is and I'll talk a little more about this, what's underpinning this rise in uranium market is a real robust demand that comes from the clean energy industry. So I'll talk a little more about that a little later on. And the other thing is, there's a unique business opportunity as well that presents itself to Blue Sky by virtue of the fact that we're active in Argentina. Again, I'll elaborate on that afterwards. The project itself, well, we already have a deposit. We published a PEA in 2019 where we underpin some value to this company with just under 23 million pounds of uranium and 11.5 million pounds of vanadium. But the real upside here, of course, is that this resource is open for expansion. The property length is over 145 kilometers, or just over 90, almost 100 miles long. It's a huge district. Multiple targets have been identified, and there's potential here to make multiple deposits over this entire district, and basically has the potential to become a world-class uranium district with some of the lowest operating costs and some huge uranium pounds. Here's a map of Argentina. This slide here just illustrates where our project Amarillo Grande, or the Big Yellow, is situated. It's in the province of Rio Negro in the northern part of Patagonia. It's basically that big yellow blob on that map, and it's made up of over 300,000 hectares of property. So it's truly a very, very large project, and we've been working on it a long time as well. The company, well, we are managed by Grosso Group. Grosso Group is management are pioneers in Argentina. They've been active in that country since back in early 90s when Argentina opened up. Basically, it's changed its investment laws to allow private and foreign investment into the mining industry. Prior to that, everything was state controlled, and what that did is, and basically before that, there was not very much exploration at all. So here you have an enormous country like Argentina, which is ranks amongst I believe, the 8th largest in the world in terms of landmass. Virtually no mining exploration, and just in comparison, you look at the thin sliver of Chile that resides to the west, and it has a very highly developed mining industry. So it was a no-brainer at that time that Argentina has huge potential to make big discoveries. And in the course of the last 3 decades, Grosser Group, through other companies that we have managed, we have had a lot of success there. We've discovered 4 major discoveries in Argentina, including Guacamayo gold mine, which is still in production today, Navidad silver deposit, which is still remains the world's largest undeveloped silver deposit, the Chinchillas silver lead zinc mine, which we took from discovery all the way into production in partnership with SSR Mining, and of course the project that we're talking about today, which is Blue Sky as Amarillo Grande. More specifically, the team on our board and management here. Of course, Joe Grosso is the chairman of the company. He's, besides being the president and founder of Grosser Group Management, he's been inducted into Argentina's Mining Hall of Fame, and he brings to the company a tremendous competitive advantage and many, many contacts in the mining industry in Argentina and in governments and so forth. And of course, Guillermo, who's joining me in this presentation here, he's our vice president of exploration. He's an Argentinian, and he has a very extensive uranium experience. And in fact, it was just recently that he was awarded the Exploration Geologist of the Year award by his peers in Argentina. And the last person I want to just point out is Chuck Edwards. Chuck was a metallurgist and processing engineer. He was actually a chief metallurgist for Cameco for many, many years, and he's considered a world authority on these matters. And he's the person that's been doing all our engineering and metallurgical work for our project. Just a little briefly here on uranium supply and demand. As I said at the outset, the demand for uranium obviously is outstripping supply, is why we're seeing the price continuing to rise. And what's happening here is we're seeing a real understanding, especially amongst the younger generations, that new nuclear reactors are safe and they are a way to provide a secure and reliable and carbon-free source of energy. And with that, they're being built and deployed on a global basis right now. And reactors need fuel, which comes from uranium. And uranium, it's not the kind of fuel you can flick on a switch and get more uranium. You have to discover it. It takes many, many years to find uranium. And because of that, we're seeing the price continuing to increase, creating a very favorable environment for our exploration efforts here. And most of the world's uranium, as this chart shows, comes from Kazakhstan, almost half of the world's uranium. And the reason for that is the deposits there are very low cost to produce and are basically quite large and extensive. Other places include Canada and Australia. So there is a move right now on a global basis to source and acquire uranium from more geopolitically safe countries. And this, I believe, positions Argentina in a very favorable light. And uranium, the way it's priced, I keep saying what the price of uranium is, just over $50 right now, but that's the spot price. But the price that normally is used is the long-term contract price, which is really a price that's negotiated between a utility and a mine, and that typically has a 30 to 40% increase over the spot price. And it's a contract really that lasts between 10 and 15 years. And a little bit here about Argentina. I talked about in the beginning as well that it presents a unique business opportunity, and that's because Argentina is a nuclear country. Many investors don't realize that. It's got a very highly developed and sophisticated nuclear industry. It's worldwide recognized. Besides having power plants in operation there, it's got research reactors, particle accelerators, including pilot enrichment plants, in fact, in the province where we have our discovery. And beside that, what it doesn't have currently is uranium production. It imports all its uranium needs, and it pays a real premium for that. So this scenario sets up blue sky where we could be Argentina's first domestic supplier of uranium, as you know, our deposit, even at this relatively early stage, is the largest and most advanced deposit in Argentina. And the second caveat to take away from here is, because the country is already a nuclear country, the legal framework for handling and moving radioactive materials is already in place. So when the time comes for us to put our deposits into production, I don't think we're going to have to wait years and years of debates of Parliament to come up with these legal frameworks for nuclear materials. And with that, I take you to Amarillo Grande project, and I'll pass off to how Guillermo will talk about it. Guillermo?
Okay, thanks, Nico. Hi, everyone. Okay, I will talk about this unique project, as Nico mentioned before, not only for the geological characteristics similar to many big producing districts in the world, but also for the ESG conditions, environmental, social, and governance. Nico talked about Argentina as a nuclear country, and this is located in a province, Rio Negro province, that it's a province where natural resources are being produced for decades. Uh, we are in the middle of the desert with very low density of population, so and we are in a depression where we are not competitors for many other economic sectors, and this is a good place to work year round. So we are in a very good place to be exploring uranium. So talking about the district, this is a new district discovered by Blue Sky back in 2006 in a province north of Patagonia, Rio Negro province, a nuclear province also, with excellent geological conditions to comprise uranium, although was not known until BSK discovery. And since then, we started an exploration program advancing for kilometers and kilometers following radiometric anomalies for more than 140 kilometers to the south until we arrive in the southernmost sector known as Ivana, where we finally discovered in 2017 the Ivana deposit. This deposit was discovered when the uranium spot price was about $20 per pound. And the idea of that discovery was, okay, we need to prove to the market that we have a potential competitive target that could be potentially operating in actual market conditions. So this is what we tried to do in those days. We went rapidly to resource estimations and a preliminary economic assessment just to prove that this first discovery in this huge district could be potentially economic. And now we are trying to prove that more deposit like Ivana could be possible to find in this district. So as I mentioned first, this is Rio Negro province, very good jurisdiction to be exploring for uranium, and the geography also good. Very low rainfall, very low density of population, and it's a mining-friendly jurisdiction with good infrastructure. The mineralization itself, uh, on surface, is observed like superficial type deposits like those in Africa or Australia, where the main mineralization is related to carnotite, this yellow mineral coating the pebble, or that you can see in the walls of that pit. And this is how you can find uranium all along the 140 kilometers along the Amarillo Grande project. When we drilled in 2017, we found that this mineralization on surface is just the superficial expression of a bigger system, sandstone type deposit, similar to those in Colorado or the Kazakhstan producing districts, the more important today in the world. But the point is that because we have mineralization since surface, it represents for us a very low exploration cost to be advancing, but also in a potential future production that the mineralization is related with unconsolidated or poor consolidated sediment. We won't need drilling, blasting, and crushing before going to recuperate minerals. So I mentioned rapidly about the geological condition. As you can see, this is a comparative from Google Earth of the districts in Kazakhstan, showing all those yellow stars represent producing mines. That way, they are actually producing all of them for in situ recovery because they are at 300, 500 meters in depth. And this was discovered after 50, 60 years of exploration. We are just starting the exploration in this new district with similarities from the geological point of view and the first discovery in the southernmost sector with Ivana. As an example, Inkai mine in Kazakhstan, they have more than 200 million pounds uranium with an average grade of mineralization similar to Ivana, about 0.03% U3O8. So, as I mentioned, our first goal was to define a potential economic deposit. We did it very rapidly real. This is a good expression about the geological potentiality of the district. And we presented this resource estimation in about 23 million pounds uranium, U3O8, and 11.5 million pounds vanadium as V2O5, which is a good byproduct that help on the economics. And both are 100% imported in Argentina, a country that consumes both metals. The deposit itself, this is a map view of the deposit. As you can see in the middle, the darker zone represent the higher grade zone of the project, but you can see the mineralization continue for almost 5 to 6 kilometer arcuate corridor. We recently finished a drilling program trying to extend the mineralization or the initial resource estimation to the west, but also to improve the grade of the resource estimated. Once we define the deposit, we had to prove that this uranium could be easily or at low cost recuperated. And what was defined by Chuck Edward, as Nico mentioned, a key person for this part of the project. He defined a simple two-stage processing methodology, including a first simple wet scrubbing and screening, because as you saw in the picture, you have the minerals or in the very fine material in the sediments or coating the pebbles. So you separate the minerals from the coarse material of the sediments. That represent an increment of the initial grade up to 4 times and reduce your volume to a quarter. So that pre-concentrated material could be going into a second stage, which is an alkaline leaching processing, which from the environmental point of view represent lower impact, so lower cost finally, and giving an overall processing recovery in the two stages of 85% for uranium and 53% for vanadium. The last thing to do that we had to prove was how this potential deposit could be mined. And because the mineralization is between surface from 0 to 25, 30 meters in depth, means that you finally can mine this material as a conglomerate or sediment quarry, where you take the material with no drilling, blasting, and crushing, as I mentioned before. And the good thing is that we are also planning to remediate the material once we separate the minerals that we are looking for. So with all those initial or preliminary studies, the geology giving us mineral resources, the processing giving us estimation of cost, how we can produce the material, and the mining, we went into this stage of the preliminary economic assessment that Nico is going to summarize for you. Nico, you are mute.
Oh,
okay.
No.
No, it's
Can you
okay.
hear me? Okay, thank you. Yes, so we did a PEA at a relatively early stage, but like Guillermo said, this was at a time when the price of uranium was hovering at around $20 a pound, and we wanted to be sure that the project, as we sinking more funds into it, moving it forward and trying to expand it, that it made economic sense. And what we found out, basically, we focused really on two metrics. Number one, we focused on the pre-production capital costs. In other words, what would it cost to put a project like this into production? And what we found, it was going to run around $100 million plus a $28 million contingency. And that number was important to us because the way that we modeled our project is, well, we've got either our Ivana deposit, and then within a radius of about 30 kilometers, there is potential to find additional deposits that would be we could run like a hub and spoke type of production, and so that the capital cost that would remain relatively fixed. And then the second metric that we really wanted to get a handle on is really, what does it cost to get a pound of uranium out of the ground? And what we found is that the average cash cost ran at just over $16 a pound. But if you include the all-in sustaining costs, it ran at just over $18 a pound. So potentially, even at a $20 uranium environment, this, if it was in production, conceivably, this could make money. So this was a very, very attractive finding at this early stage, and led us to feel that, okay, we've got something here that could be a real moneymaker potentially in the future. And just to illustrate as to how this ranks, what we did is we took these numbers from the PEA and we put them in a bar chart, and these numbers represented by that red bar chart, and we compared it with other producers around the world. And what we found is that if Ivana was indeed in production, it would rank amongst the lowest cost producers in the world. And then, interestingly, it was surrounded completely with all those Kazakhstan uranium mines there. So this is a great understanding, knowing that we've got a project that has real attraction. The next stage, of course, is, can we find more uranium? And that's precisely the stage that we are at right now. You look at, here's a plan map of Amarillo Grande with a blue outline, the Ivana deposit at the bottom right-hand corner. And we really are focusing here on targets 1 through 5 and exploring them and doing geophysics and doing drill programs, which we have underway. And the idea, of course, is we could, is to identify additional deposits here that we could run as one operation, together with Ivana. To walk a few of the highlights of that, I'm going to pass it back to Guillermo to talk about this, of what we've done.
Okay, this is a summary map about the last drilling result at Ivana deposit itself that I mentioned we were drilling this year for improving the grade of the resource estimated. As you can see in the core zone, we have very tight drilling pattern that we expect to convert those inferred resources into indicated. But also we were trying to see if we can expand the mineral or the resources to the west. And we got very good results there. And we expect that we are advancing with a new resource estimation starting probably the end of this year. If we go to the next, and this is what we are actually doing. We are, as Nico mentioned, we are Ivana deposit is like the central zone of this exploration cluster that we are developing. We already drilled Ivana North and Ivana Central, and we are now exploring Cateo 4 sector. We did some work at Ivana East. We expect to drill those two targets potentially now by the end of 2023. And the goal is to identify between those four targets in a area of 30 to 40 kilometers around Ivana, where we could have or define a new Ivana deposit. And this is our main goal today from the exploration point of view. So
So,
Nico,
in
probably.
summary, yep, thanks, Guillermo. So, in summary, just to conclude, this is a very unique project with enormous potential. We've got easy access, excellent provincial infrastructure. It's interesting that the geological setting is comparable to some of the biggest and lowest cost producers in the world that we've seen in Kazakhstan. With the resource that we've already been published in the initial PEA, the project is already underpinned by potential viability. And it gives it the potential to rank amongst the largest uranium districts in the world with some of the lowest operating costs. We're at the expansion phase now with drill programs underway. I think the potential here for finding an additional deposit is very good. And, and then beyond that, there's an entire further district that remains to be explored. I mean, Kazakhstan wasn't discovered in a whole potential wasn't discovered in a day. It took decades to come up to that, and I think we've got a very, very unique situation here. And of course, we have the ability to be able to, when the timing is right, to fast track this project and move it towards production at the right time. With that, the only comment I would like to add is that as we're moving forward here, we're looking at expanding our drill program for some of the newer targets that we're announcing. So we will be looking to raise some funds here in the near future to get cashed up to do that. And in the meantime, maybe we should take some of these questions. I see here. One question is, what is the history of uranium mining in Argentina, and can you speak to the government support? Maybe Guillermo would be a good person to answer this question.
Yes, we can say that Argentina, as Nico mentioned before, is a nuclear country. Just to understand the position of this country is that the actual general manager of the Atomic Energy International Association is an Argentinian ambassador. And this is representing the capacity of this country to control almost or every stage of the nuclear sector. Mining started just a few years after United States in 1952. And the history, 9 mines entered into production in Argentina. The point is that the last one was set in standby in 1997 due to prices. The uranium price those days was something like $7 per pound. So in the 90s, the government decided to import uranium. But at this point, the country is advancing with the nuclear program. A few years ago, the third nuclear reactor was started, and now planning and building new reactors, and the small modular reactor, pilot reactor that Argentina is developing, but also other 2 energy power plants are being planned in construction. So the country not only it has a policy for the last 50, 60 years in the nuclear sector, but also have a capacity and regulation to administrate this sector very well. And this is why we understand that the government may support the development of the uranium sector. That uranium production is the only point that is not being produced in Argentina today. The country is importing concentrate from other countries.
Perfect. Thank you, Guillermo. Then some of the following questions are: what are the next big event to hear from Blue Sky? Well, we expect to do a new resource calculation in our Ivana. We expect to announce and execute on a drill program for Ivana Cuatro, Cateo Cuatro, and Ivana East, 2 excellent targets. So I think as these results begin to come in, these will represent different milestones. And then beyond that, we're looking to put the project into a pre-feasibility study, execute that. Should take about 10 months to complete, and it's at the end of that engineering study that a production decision would be taken. So there's a lot of upcoming activity. There's a lot of upcoming activity here for Blue Sky, including a financing that we're going to be announcing in short order. So I thank everybody for listening here. We've got a project here that has a real potential to be world class, and I hope you consider this to follow us and consider this for